Hello and welcome, or welcome back. You may or may not have noticed I'm sort of rebranding my weekly chatty catch-up from Catterday Reads to my Bookish week, and not any super specific reason, but I do feel like having Catterday Reads tied me a little bit much to Saturday specifically. Obviously, I didn't worry too much about it and posted whatever day. I think Saturday is still my most likely day to be posting, but if there were delays or anything, I always felt like I was in a rush to try and get videos up. And I try not to put that pressure on myself. So I'm just changing it to give myself the flexibility for whatever day I get it up. We'll do a weekly catch up once a week, probably sometime between Friday and Sunday. It'll happen. But I feel like tying myself less to a day of the week and more just making it a flexible weekly thing. So that's the reason for the name change. So anyway, we are here to talk about books. This is my weekly chatty catch up on what I've been doing, what I've been reading, what I'm currently reading, and some clips from my week. So that is what we do here on my Bookish week. So first, let's talk about the books I finished this week. I started with a very tiny one for New Year's Eve. That was Galatea by Madeline Miller. And this is teeny tiny. It is just a little, like a gift book, I would say. It's a short story based on Galatea, who is the sort of subject of the Pygmalion story by Ovid. And this is an odd story because it's the story of a sculptor who has brought his sculpture, this idealized woman for him, to life, and then goes on to marry her and have a child. And we see that story from his lens in Ovid's perspective. And this takes the perspective of this sculpture who has been brought to life and gives us a complete different look at what this situation would be for that perceived woman. And it's very harrowing. It's very difficult to read when you have someone who is that consumed with a passion for, in this case, she wasn't real. She was a sculpture. It was an idealized version of what she would be rather than an actual person. And so this man, this sculptor, was putting all of his expectations onto her. And so we get that through this short story. So I don't want to talk very much about plot. There isn't a ton of plot. In fact, it's a vibes book. It's all about the perception and the imagery. It is beautifully written, so you really do get that sense of imagery of what she's going through, and it's quite harrowing. It also has a strong sense of message of giving us this perspective that we didn't have before on this story, and trying to look at it from another side. So I would heartily recommend this. I think this was really, really beautiful. Then I finished World War Z on both audio and print a little bit. I would say there were some pretty significant differences when I was reading it side by side with the audio. There was like a whole interview that was missing at one point. So this is told in interview. So the audio is nice because it has a full cast. So you're really getting a completely acted audio experience. And this is not really telling us a story. There's not a linear narrative. It's just these anecdotes of people's experiences as there's this zombie outbreak from all over the world, from different cultures and religions and different political ideologies. And I think that's the core of this book, is giving us how differently people react to the situations that they're in. Sorry, we had to pause for a cat wheel, a very loud cat wheel running session. So what was I saying? I think I was talking about how this really gets across the cultural and political differences. So we are very much seeing things on conflicted borders of people, and it's focused much more on that and how after that, what they have to do to survive and the pre-existing political conflicts affect them. So I think that was just done so well, and I don't really need to talk about this much more. Everybody in the world has read this, but finally picking this up was well worth it. I'm so glad to have finally gotten to it because it does get that across so well, this background conflict, of cultural difference. And I do think coming at this after having been through a pandemic now, it's hard to take certain things seriously because it definitely has a much more hopeful lens about how people are going to react in most of the cases, I think, or in many of the cases. As a larger society, he seems to see that society is going to overall band together and do the right thing. And in most of the cases, we saw a very split decision on that. So many of the specific things that are called out do feel very true, but the broader scope of society's reaction is a lot more divided than what he depicts here. So yeah, I did highly enjoy that as well. So 2 for 2 on this week's reading. And in fact, we are 3 for 3 because I also finished Locklands. So this took me quite a bit longer than I expected. I kind of hit a little bit of a wall with reading this week. So this is the finale of the Founders Trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett. And this is, I think, one I'm going to do a trilogy review for, so I won't talk about it too much. I can't really talk about the plot too much, but it starts out as this real heist story featuring gathering together a small crew in the first book. And as it has progressed, it has become increasingly epic. So we're in this really Italian-inspired setting. Initially, we're in a city, and at this point, we've expanded out into the larger world. And the magic system is highly detailed. It's sort of a rune-based magic system that is something where they write runes on items, and they convince them the world works a way that's different from the way it actually does. And so that is the main crux of this story. The founders are these godlike beings who knew how to use that magic to do things so beyond what people of this time know. They were these ancient heroes to the modern people of this story. And so over the course of this, it's almost like a magical industrial revolution that we're going through here, because they are progressing the magic so rapidly that the things they're able to do by the end of this book would be godlike to them. So I think that's a big major element to this. And then the other major element to this is, at least initially, it's very much, I think it carries through. It carries through the whole series. It's very much this band of revolutionaries against a system, an oppressive system. And at the beginning, that really has anti-corporate vibes. And I think that continues on, but it does shift and change. So I just loved this series. This last book was probably my least favorite of the series. It did have some sections that kind of lagged. They felt like they didn't really need to be there. They kind of were dead weight. So yeah, we had some elements of that, of extra padding that could have been cut, but it was like a 4.5 out of 5. So I'm going to round it up to 5 because this was such a great experience, and I loved the way that it cohered into a single series and completed. So I'm super happy to have finished this trilogy. Then I have my in-progress books. We have one I've been reading for a long time, Hot and Badgered by Shelly, Laurenston. I don't think I'm gonna DNF this, but I'm just sort of like slowly chipping away at it. I'm like 280 pages in or something. I grabbed this because I was wanting kind of a real cheesy, maybe comedic, this is about badger shifters, comedic paranormal romance. And as I said, I'm 280 pages in, there hasn't been any romance or any sex. It's not a romance. This is definitely urban fantasy, straight up. So yeah, it's not what I was looking for. It's fine, it's entertaining, it's very high action and super plotty, to the point it doesn't always make sense, but it's very plotty, very goofy with the badger shifters, and so yeah, I'm going to continue on. Then we have 2 I started this week, and I'm loving both of them. So this is Village Affairs by Miss Reed. This is, of course, a Gina Stanier recommendation. And we have Diary of a Void by Emmy Yagi, and translated by David Boyd and Lucy North. I am only 11 pages in, but I immediately was like, this is exactly what I was hoping for. So I think I'm going to love this one. I'm also on audio. I forgot to mention it in my TBR, but I have 2 nonfiction November books that were newish nonfiction works I put audio holds on in November, and they never really came in. And they finally came in December, and I just didn't have time for them, so I kept pushing them back. And so I am finally getting to those 2 on audio. I am also on ebook reading a couple arcs this month because Kristen from Kristen LSOF Reader is a bad influence and told me about a book I wanted an arc of. I don't believe I actually got it. They have not responded. But I went through and requested a couple of other arcs on NetGalley. And so I'm reading right now the arc of Sun Tzu in Space and really enjoying it. It is nonfiction. It's not sci-fi, but it is very much focused on international relations and how we would handle that as countries are moving into space. So really enjoying that. It's kind of academic, but it's great. So I think that's it for my reading week. That's a lot. As far as my watching week, I think I finished 2 shows. So I was watching LegoMasters Christmas last week, I think I mentioned, and I did finish all 3 of those episodes. They are so fun, and it's a little heartbreaking because Leslie Jordan is on the show, and he's just such a delight, or was such a delight, and he passed away recently. I really want to get to his memoir as well that I think came out in 2022. But yeah, seeing him on the show and just him, being his usual hilarious self was great. And then I finished a cooking show that's on Netflix called Snack vs. Chef. And this one was really interesting because it's not kind of your usual cooking competition. It's food science a bit and cooking, because they are trying to do 2 rounds. The first one is more the food science aspect because they're trying to recreate a well-known snack like an Oreo or Cheeto, that sort of thing. And that's really cool. And then the second round is them creating their own snack. So every episode follows that kind of layout. Really, really fun, really interesting to see the ways that they figure out what's in a snack. So very, very fun one. I, of course, always love the cooking competitions. And I think that's it for stuff I finished on watching shows this week. For my actual week, it continues to be low-key. I do have my best books of 2022, I think, nailed down. I just have to film a video. So you will be getting a best of video. I absolutely plan to do that. And I'm planning to do my goals wrap up. But it's been a very, very low energy week where I'm just kind of not wanting to film, not wanting to do much, not really wanting to do anything but sit down and read or watch stuff. I have watched way too much C-SPAN. I will stay away from our terrible week in politics in the US this week, but yeah, I probably watched 30 hours of C-SPAN or just had it on muted in the background while I was working all day. It's been one of those weeks. And because I've been so low energy and, just not feeling it, I also have been eating a lot of like pre-made food stuff. So I included a couple clips because I'm trying some different vegan and vegetarian foods that I haven't tried before. I don't normally eat a lot of prepared foods. I cook my own food mostly. And so this has been getting out of my comfort zone. I'm not specifically vegan or vegetarian, but I am always trying to eat mainly focused vegetables and plant-based diet. So that has been really interesting, of trying new things that I wouldn't normally, and I found some really good stuff. So yeah. I think that's it for my week for the most part. I'm gonna go return a bunch of library books now because I have a whole pile from November that I'm not gonna get to. I am hanging on to a couple through the end of this month, but I've knocked the pile in half basically of what I read, and then I've knocked it in half again of what is remaining that I actually think I can or want to get to before the end of the month. Unfortunately, those high priority books are still all HarperCollins books that I had kept sliding to the back of my list because of the HarperCollins union strike, which has somehow not been resolved. It seems like Harper is really not even taking it seriously, just not trying. And as last I heard, they were looking at bringing in temporary workers. So not going well with that, and I'm going to continue to not touch those books for now. I know, you know, they're saying to continue supporting the authors and buying the books, but not reviewing them. So I'm just sliding those back until whenever the strike is resolved, hoping that is sooner rather than later. So that is it for my week, I think. In recommendations, I don't really have any because everybody is doing their best ofs, worst ofs, their yearly wrap-ups and their goals. And so our feeds are all slammed with all those videos. So you are going to need to be catching up on all of your best and worsties. So that's it for me today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Thanks so much for watching BookTube. I got my new 2023 planner. This is a Be Brooded planner. I don't really love the style of the cover. It kind of reminds me of the romance covers that are the cartoony fronts, but it's okay. It's a very hard cover rather than soft cover. Some stickers I probably won't use. Full year layout. So I like the month and day planner. So this one has kind of small sections here. So I don't know about that. I'm gonna have to get a fine tip pen probably for filling that out. And then it's got a section for goals. I'll probably put like major outlier videos that I want to put in there. And then the day layout, this is really why I got it. This is the only planner I saw that had lined day layouts. So I actually really like that. I think Saturday and Sunday, unfortunately, are kind of small, but I do think the lining is going to help. So filling this out is going to be great. And then I was previously using one that had a day layout with a note section at the end. And now at the end here, we've got a big section of notes pages. So I can use that for, like, previously I was using the note section for my weekly recommendations for my Saturday videos. So I can do that and kind of random stuff I want to catch up on. So I think having the actual notes pages is going to really help. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to be jumping into a new planner. I'm not going to name names, but someone decided to attack the automatic red dot dispenser. And so now it's just high on the wall. You went straight to the source, huh? What's up, my friend? You been running? You've been very noisy while I'm trying to film. Huh? Are you very good at that? Good job! Good job, bro. I really like this brand. I've tried them before, but this is the first time I've seen Korean barbecue stir fry, which is very exciting. They have fully vegan meals. They have all kinds of stuff like snackies and desserts and microwave meals. I'm gonna say that looks pretty darn good for a microwave meal. We're making tacos. This is my favorite not cheese. I finally have a shredded kind. So previously they only had slices, but it actually gets melty, which is very good, and it does taste really like cheese. So very good. And then we've got some plant-based taco filling that's actually pretty tasty. Ripley's going for a teeth cleaning tomorrow, so we cut out the bag. Seems not trustworthy, huh? It's to inspect it very thoroughly, huh? Usually you're the one who goes right in the bag. Do you have a suspicion? The wariness was very short-lived. Ripley is fully in the bag now. Ripley. You love your bag home. Oh, Ripley. Was it a trap all along? To make you go to the dentist? Oh, poor girl. It's so sad. Looks like they fell asleep in the middle of a kung fu fight. Crazy sunset.